All right, it's time to figure out what your competition's already doing. So through this video, we're going to walk you through a couple different aspects. One, we're going to look at what kind of keywords your competitor might be ranking for. We're going to do a search to see what keywords might be valuable to you. We're going to show you a few tools on how to find some of this information out about your key competitors, even things like what ads they're running. And it's amazing what you can learn from this stuff. The goal of this is to understand not only what keywords are effective and how they're using language in order to draw customers in, but also help you find your differentiation. So part of this is going to be finding out exactly what they're doing today, and part of this is figuring out how you can compete in a market that may or may not already be saturated. This all ties back to the core purpose of this course, which is trying to understand what your competition's doing, how to find your risks, how do you find differentiation, and where your big opportunities are. So where do you start? Good old Google. Now, it might sound like a boring answer, but you can find out a lot about what a company is doing just by searching for their name and trying to figure out if they have any ads running against their own brand or who else might be advertising for that space. So I'm just going to use Pebble as that example here. I'm going to start off by just doing a quick search for Pebble RV, and that should get me right to their main page. So immediately we get an idea of who's competing against them. As soon as I searched Pebble RV, this Volkswagen electric van shows up, which is a common thing used for either as a camper or as a conversion to a camper. We can see where their primary messaging lies, right? So Pebble, where home meets the road. So obviously they're looking to change the story a little bit. It's not just about having an electric system, or it's not just about having an electric trailer. It's about bringing that home experience with them wherever they go. We can look through and see how people are engaging with the content, other content that might be out there. We can find reviews, we can find key messaging that people are doing. Now, in this case, I didn't find a lot of direct competition, but what I did find is a lot of language that's being used to describe it. So things like all-electric, hassle-free RV trailer, it's a story. It's something that we can use in terms of messaging. We can try and figure out what people are doing. One of the best things to do is that as you're going through something like a Google search, just start looking for where's the key terminology. One of the great things you could do is create something called a scratch file. It's just a place where you can take images, snippets, ads that are existing, and throw them into a single folder so you have a reference. You can even categorize them. I personally tend to use Figma. You can use whatever tools you want. But one of the things I love to do is start categorizing some of the content that I'm collecting. So if I'm struggling for ideas, I can use that file to pull up new content or at least give me some great inspiration. So this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to look at what other people are searching for. I'm going to look for terminology that's being used. And Reddit is something that's amazing, but we're going to talk about that one in another video. So now I'm going to jump over to Ubersuggest. This is a great tool. You can get an account for free. I forget the limited number of searches, but it's something like 3 searches a day. It allows you to come in and just understand exactly what's going on. It's also a really great tool when you start doing research into your own products and your own website performance. But in this case, we're going to just talk about it from the perspective of doing keyword research against your direct competitors. So what I've done is I've gone over to this keyword research tab. I've entered pebblelife.com because it's primarily based in the US. I'm going to focus my research results based on the US. Now I'm going to scroll down and I can see all of the keywords that Pebble is actively ranking for. Now, first of all, there's a lot of things around Pebble, Pebble RV trailer, Pebble flow trailer, and you can see their position is ranked really high, which is great. But the volume for visits per month is actually relatively low because the search volume is relatively low. We start looking at some of the other terminology where, for example, this one of motorized caravan actually gets 1,600 views. So for example, if you look at motorized caravan within the US, you can see that the search volume monthly is around 1,600. And right now, Pebble Life ranks at number 6. You can see that they get an estimated 68 views from that 6th ranked position. The value of this position is super important because the more volume you have combined with the position that you rank, the higher your estimated visits are. So looking at your competitors can actually give you a variety of different insights. First of all, we could organize this based off of volume or by position to see where our competitors are ranking and how many estimated visits they're getting every month. The goal for me is to understand what is the specific terminology that they might be finding that could be valuable, that both has a high volume and has keywords that I'm specifically going to be targeting as well. So for example, this industry may not have a tremendously high volume. In fact, let's go find out. So I'm now sorting this table by volume, and you can see the search volumes that are present, the position that Pebble Life currently ranks, and how many visits they're actively getting from those things. We can make a bunch of inferences from this. For example, we could look at who Pebble's actually competing against directly right now. This key term of Airstream, which is a well-known travel trailer brand, is something that they're ranking okay for. Now, this could mean that they are just coincidentally combined, or people who search for Airstream also tend to search for Pebble. It might mean that Pebble is actively trying to take over that keyword by producing some content and trying to take the Airstream market and bring it over to the Pebble side. It could mean a bunch of different things. I don't know without looking into it specifically, but it's a great thing to start looking for and trying to find who they're competing against, as well as all the terminology that's driving traffic to that site. Now, as I scroll through here, I'm going to be looking for any kind of keywords that I think are highly relevant to my business, and I'm going to start tracking them. Where do I track those, do you ask? Well, conveniently, if I jump back over to my competitive analysis sheet, we have this last section here for keywords. So I start collecting all this information about which keywords are coming up, how frequently they come up, and I might be adding even something like the cost per click to give me a quick understanding of what works within that space and how much it might cost. And if you want to find out how much each keyword does cost, or at least a rough estimation, you can go back over to your keyword research. Now, typically the SEO difficulty is going to be directly related to how much each keyword costs, but it's not always the same. So what I might do is I might look for one that I care about specifically. Let's say futuristic travel trailer. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to show me how much it costs in order to get each click. This is typically a reference to what Google charges you for every click. And the reality is this is an estimate number. If you have really good high quality ads, you could actually do better than that cost. Now, this one also has a search volume of about 140 per month, so it might not be the best keyword to go after. The other thing I might do while I'm looking around for keywords is sort by position. Now, it's going to tell me where Pebble specifically is going to be ranking the best. It's going to start showing me exactly where Pebble ranks for each one of these keywords. Now, a lot of these ones for position 1 are related directly to Pebble. It'd be a hard thing to try and take away from them. But as we keep going through this list and we start getting into different positions, for example, position 2, we can start seeing some really great keywords that we might want to take as keyword terminology that we're going to try and leverage, either through your ads or the content that you're going to be writing for your landing pages or homepage, or honestly, even in blog content or things like that, to try and help your ranking and start creating a direct competition against any of these competitors. Now, this next tool is completely free. It's actually made by Google, showing what ads are being presented and posted through their ad network. So you could just go to adtransparency.google.com and you can start looking in different regions. I could go for Canada, or I could look for the United States, and I can start searching directly by the website or the brand. So in this case, I'm going to put in Pebble Life, and as soon as I enter that, Pebble Life comes up. I just click on this. Now it's going to start showing me what kind of ads they're actively pushing out. So I can look at which formats they're using, what kind of content they're using. It's a great way to figure out the language that your competitors are using, the imagery that they're using, how they display their product, and what's special about it. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to go in here and start pulling out all the content, adding this to my Scratch file, so I have a clear understanding of all the different types of media that my competitors are pushing out there, trying to find similarities of the content they're producing, and it gives me a great reference for what images might work better than others. You can already see clear trends just by looking at these 4 ads. Now, I can also go down here and click See All Ads, and it's going to start pulling not just the image ads that they're promoting, and the banners and video and all that kind of stuff, but also things like text ads. So I could go in and see exactly what kind of content is being produced, what language they're using, and again, I'm going to start grabbing all of the pain points that they address. I'm going to start grabbing all of the pain points that it sounds like they're solving. I'm going to start looking at the language that they're using specifically. And I'm just going to go through and start looking at all these different variations to try and build my own inspiration, but also see if there's a unique opportunity. See if there's a way that I can create a differentiated ad. So when somebody sees my ad and their ad at the same time, how do I show that they should really look into my solution? So this is where I'm going to start looking for all that kind of content. And again, I'm going to pull images, I'm going to pull text, I'm going to pull everything I can to have a clear understanding of what my competition is doing right now. The last tool I'm going to walk you through is Facebook. Now, similar to the way that Google has, a lot of people don't realize you can actually go and see every ad that's currently being posted by your competition. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to About. I'll look for page transparency and see it says right here, this page is currently running ads. I'm going to jump into See All. And if I scroll down here, I can go to their ad library. Now, this will tell you a variety of different things. One, what ads are currently running. And again, I'm going to be using this content and adding it into my Scratch file. I'm going to be looking for language that they use, how they describe it, what kind of terminology they use, what pains are they trying to solve. I'm going to capture all of this information and start adding it back to my Scratch file. And eventually, when I go back into understanding and testing my pain points, I'm going to use some of the language I've found in here and turn those into compelling ads that I can test against. One of the other great assets of the Meta platform is not only does it show you what ads are out there and how many creatives it's using and a bunch of other information like that, it also tells you when they were launched. And this might sound like a silly thing, but when you start looking at older ads, the reality is that companies don't leave ads up and running when they're not working. So older ads are the ones that are still driving traffic. It's where the language is resonating. They're probably their base set of ads, and these newer ones might be ones that they're currently testing. So don't just look at the ads. Look at when they were published, when they started. Do they run them in batches? How many are they testing currently? And how many have been around for a while that are still generating that traffic? So depending on your budget, you can use the free tools that we walk through, or there's a lot of other great tools, things like SpyFu or SimilarWeb or SEMrush. All of those are great tools that will provide a really deep level of insights. You don't really need them at this point unless you are going after some very large competition. But the goal here is to have an understanding of the language, the content, and the story that your competitors are currently telling. The thing is, you want to understand not only exactly what they're saying to your market, but also how do you find that differentiation? What did you learn from interviews or from pain point testing that could lead to something more compelling? How do you differentiate yourself? So how do I find a way of making my ad stand out? Is it through education or is it through finding a pain point that the current market doesn't solve? The goal is to make sure that you have a clarity on that so that we can go back and test again. So go out there and find out what your competition's doing. And don't forget to create that Scratch file. Just keep a record of everything you see because sometimes it's just great for inspiration. And other times, it's great to have a clarity in terms of how you're going to differentiate in market with some of these big competitors.